Hello everyone, welcome to Tabito Stories. This is our another episode of Tabito Stories, bringing stories and bringing people that are doing something that is amazing, that you know uh, that is like something new, something that they have hours to do, or something they're passionate about. And today in our podcast we have Kyle, and Kyle is into fashion. He has creating like customizing shirts, like customization of clothing, and has a clothing brand. And I was presented to him by a friend, and my friend, he was telling me everything he's doing. I'm like, damn, like that's someone I want to have in my podcast and to come in and share what they are doing. Welcome, Kyle.
Like, I want to start off honestly by saying, like, thank you for having me. I definitely, this is like a new experience for me. So I appreciate you actually reaching out and then letting me use your platform to talk about what I'm doing. It means a lot to me.
It's a pleasure to have you here in the podcast and to for you to kind of like be part of it, to be part of the show and to share your story. Can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Kyle Torres. I've been born and raised in like the Clovis, like Fresno area of California. For the most part, like I've lived a pretty basic life, I'd say. Just went to school, college, and then wrestled for a majority of my life, which is kind of weird considering now that like I run a skate brand. But I don't know. It's hecka funny. Like I look back at like my kindergarten stuff and like elementary school like projects and stuff like that, and like, dude, on all of them I was always writing like I want to skateboard and stuff like that. So I just find it like super funny that I ended up like so heavily involved in like the wrestling community when I was like in high school and like kind of early off in my early adult life. I don't know. I guess like where to start is like Neighborhood Watch. I feel like is like an extension of myself in a sense, like art wise at least. So like I've always like been into like the clothing scene and stuff like that. Like I've always enjoyed hype clothing, like Supreme back in like early 2000s. Like I remember like things were really getting popping like 2012, 2013. That's when a lot of like the cool, like iconic staple pieces were coming out. And then I don't know, once it got to like I want to say it was around my senior year. So 2014, 2015 was like when I was like starting to realize like maybe I might want to make some clothes or something like that. Just because like I said, like 2014, 2015 things started to seem like watered out in a sense. Like everyone was just starting to do like the same things. Like if one brand was doing this, like you can honestly see like 4 or 5 other brands doing like the exact same type thing. You know what I mean? And it was just like, I don't know, things were getting like a little too repetitive in a sense. And I was like, I mean, if you have the eye to catch it, I just felt like, why not like start making your own things? You know what I mean? Just seeing like casting that line, see how it hits. But so like, I was like starting off making like just like custom like sweatshirts and stuff like that, like little iron-on patches. And I want to say the first one I did like said Gucci or something like that, just something like basic, but like it was lit, you know what I mean? So like I want to say roughly around like 20 of those. And that was my first piece. That was like 2015, 16. I made like 20 of those unbranded, just like Gucci hoodies. I was calling the brand off-brand clothing at the time just because it was like going off of like bootleg stuff. And then I sold those, and it just wasn't like, it didn't feel, what's the word I'm looking for? Like it didn't feel genuine, and there wasn't like that sense of like accomplishment in a sense, because it's like, yeah, it's cool to like make something cool, but at the same time I was using someone else's name. So like it didn't really feel like I was personally doing something. I just made something cool, you know what I mean? I think I made like 1 or 2 more like custom hoodies with like a Gucci like monogram. Like I cut out like a stencil on a piece of cardboard and I spray painted it onto the hoodie. And then so I did two or three of those. And then honestly, it's funny because back then it was a random guy on Twitter, and he happens to be my friend now. But he called me out and he goes, "Bro, to be honest, this looks like something I've seen before. And then like, so I like had no idea what he was talking about. And he tags me in the post, and like, this guy had like 400,000 followers. And I was like, well, I can't run with that idea anymore. I'm like, it's been done. I was like, I definitely look like I'm just biting at this guy now. You know what I mean? That was kind of like the spark to be like, all right, dude, you got to do something that's like organic, something that's legitimized, like something that's gonna like you can push as your own, you know what I mean? Because it's like a lot of people are like customizers and stuff like that, but like to actually like design and have your own ideas to put out in there, like it's a whole different ball game. I was like, well, shoot, if I'm just like half, like being half creative with it, like let's see what I could do if I go full creative. And then so I downloaded Photoshop, and I was just going to classes, and then we just had a basic. This was the start of 2016, 2017, I want to say. I was in just like basic college courses, like trying to get my GE, and we're giving our introduction speech for like sociology or physiology, one of those like what's it called, classes. Sorry, lost the words right there. Yeah. So we're giving our introduction for sociology. And so I go up there and I'm like, yeah, my name's Kyle, blah, blah. I make clothes. And then super weird, like the guy sitting next to me, like me and this guy have sat next to each other for like a week now, right? Haven't spoke one word to each other at all. Like it's just been like, sit down, sit there, that's it, nothing. After I say I make clothes, he looks over, he's like, oh, that's what's up, bro. You make clothes? He's like, I make clothes too. And I was like, oh, shoot, that's what's up. Like, what do you do? And so, like, long story short, he breaks it down like he screen prints, like he's been doing like graphic design on what's it called, like on his laptop and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, heck yeah, like for sure, bro. I'd love to hang out with you, like chop it up, see what's going on, you know? Because at this time I was literally just doing iron-on patches and then freaking just spray painting stuff, and then like maybe occasionally like painting onto stuff, but like that was it, nothing too crazy. And so I want to say it was like a week or two later, he came onto campus with like a few t-shirts and then like a stencil and then like some screen printing ink, right? And then you're just busting them out right there on the freaking on the lot, like in the middle of the amphitheater, just screen printing shirts. And I was like, bro, like that's hella smart, because there was like 5 or 6 people that were like walking in between classes right now, like, oh, what do you got going on here? And like they were genuinely interested in like what he was doing, you know what I mean? It's like, who else is just gonna pull up in the middle of a college and just start screen printing? You know what I mean? That's crazy. So I was like, oh shoot, like screen printing sick. Like that was what like kind of sparked my love for it right there. Cause I was like, you can really put it on anything. Like if you're wearing a shorts, a shirt, like a sweater, anything that you're wearing in that given moment, you could technically print on. And so I just thought that concept was like really cool. So like probably fast forward like 6 months, me and that kid are still like working together on just like going designs back and forth, like because we're at first we are actually trying to get like together like a collective of like, so like I would handle like design work, he would handle like manufacturing, and like we're gonna get a few other people that could do like cut and sew and like that type of stuff. But I don't know, it just like ended up being like a little too controlling, so like everything kind of just like fell out, you know what I mean? And then so like I had been working on Neighborhood Watch during that time frame, but like I wasn't showing any designs or anything like that because I didn't know if like it was cool, or I was just like, it was just like a little side project, you know? And then so like before we actually had like fully fallen out, he invited me over to his house. Like, dude, I hadn't talked to him for like a month. So like he invites me over and I'm like, all right, for sure. He's like, I just want to see like what you've been up to and stuff like that. So I bring my laptop, like we're over, like just watching TV or whatever. And he's like, oh, like, let me see what you've been up to. So I show him like some of the Neighborhood Watch designs, right? Like, and keep in mind, these are the first designs that I actually ended up releasing for the brand, right? So like, I want to say I dropped my first shirts May of 2017. So I showed him these maybe like February, January of 2017. And so, like I said, I come over to his house, right? Like, I'm not thinking anything like it's going to go from tonight. And he asks to see what I've been working on, right? So I show him my designs and he goes, "Hey bro, I'm not gonna lie, these are kind of whack." And I'm like, "Oh, like okay. All right, you asked to see it. Like I wasn't expecting that as like what you were gonna say, but all right, for sure, you know what I mean?" And so like it was just kind of awkward. It was a weird night. I end up like trying to find a way to like leave early after that. Cause I was just like, bro, why are you gonna come invite me over and then like give me a backhand to the face in a sense, you know? And then I was just like, all right, for sure. Like, nah, if he thinks they're whack, I'm gonna show him like they're not whack. Because I was like, I 100% like thought they were cool designs, and he like just kind of shit on me, and I was like, nah, that's not chill. So I went out. I bought a screen printing kit literally that night. I want to say, and like I rush ordered it, so it'd be there in 3 days. T-shirts, that was like one of the hardest things to like figure out, but like I'll get into that. So like I was like, oh shoot, where do I get some shirts? And there just so happened to be a local t-shirt outlet like probably 3 miles from the house. So I ended up pulling up in there, bought like 12 shirts, and then honestly just started printing from there, like out of the garage. And then once I moved the first 12 shirts, like that was kind of like what solidified. I was like, oh shoot, like maybe this could be something. So it was like, if like, yes, I get people are like supportive, you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's a different type of support when random people from like, let's say like Twitter, Instagram reach out and say like, hey bro, that's sick. Like, can I get one? Because like, obviously like people that you grow up around and stuff like that, they feel like you know them in a sense that like you almost feel entitled to like supporting them at least a little bit. Cause it's like, oh bro, I want to see you succeed. I want to see you achieve whatever dream you got going. Like maybe if it's what you're doing right now, or if it's like a long-term goal, but it's like it's nice to help people and see them like succeed. So like I wasn't for sure if like it was like some type of like short success, or if it was actually like going to continue and actually like grow into something, you know what I mean? I would say it was probably like June or July of 2017, which was when it was like I was actually starting to get like consistent orders on my website. So like I opened up a website. Oh, well, actually let me backtrack. So May was when I had my first t-shirt drop. And like I said, I had like 12 or 15 shirts. Move forward to June, I did like a few stash and dashes like locally to see if people like were willing to go out of their way and like get an item type thing. And then that worked out pretty well. And then yeah, like I said, just like 2000, like mid 2017 to the end of 2017, where I was realizing like, oh shoot, like if I keep pushing this and like continue to like, I guess not be stagnant and get like settled with like being just like a local guy that makes clothes, you know what I mean? Like technically, why couldn't it go further? You know what I mean? Because like just like looking at how all these other like skate brands have started out, it all starts off as like a group of friends just trying to have fun. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like once you try to like monetize something or like strictly profit off of it, that's when it becomes a job. That's when it becomes like unoriginal and like in a sense like corny. It's like, oh bro, you're literally just making stuff to try to get me to give you my money. It's like, well, no. A lot of people like, I don't know, it's just like in the skate scene, it seemed a lot more organic to like make clothes. And then, well, actually, I'm getting really off topic. I'm gonna stop myself. All right, so we're at 2017, 18. End of 2018, I'm trying to think. Was that when I had my first pop-up? All right, yeah, so it was like 2018. I think in May. So yeah, I think it was roughly like exactly a year after I had initially launched Neighborhood Watch. We actually had I had the opportunity to meet a lot of people, honestly, like doing what I've been doing over the years. So like from the span of like 2018 to 2019, I probably met like 10 to 15 artists that I actually like stay in touch with like pretty regularly. And 2000 early 2018, I had the opportunity to meet this guy. His name's Scott Stowe. He owns this brand called Clovis out in Utah. And so me and him actually started talking to each other on social media, like through Twitter and stuff like that. And we just had like mutual respect for what each other were doing. Like he was constantly putting out new stuff that I hadn't really seen. So I thought that was like pretty unique. And then he was just constantly showing me love. Like he was helping me get support in Utah. Like I never had out of state orders before. And then like he started like retweeting my stuff and stuff like that. And like I'd start getting love in Texas, Utah. Like, so that was like, it was cool because he had like a decent sized platform. You know what I mean? So like we chopped it up a little bit and we came to like, I don't honestly remember how we got to the conversation, but we got onto the conversation of like, hey, bro, we should collab and like work together. And so I have this buddy, his name's Traceop, that lives out in Canada. Me and him were chatting it up, and I was like, hey, yo, like the homie Scott, like he had just like reached out to me, or like I had reached out to him, and I was like, we're gonna work together on a collab. I was like, would you like want to be involved in it? And so he helped like create like it's like a freaking, what is it, like a detective guy holding a magnifying glass like over like a mountain pass, because that's like the Clovis logo. And then we're like, oh, neighborhood watch, it's like a neighborhood detective guy. So like it worked out pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
And then we had the My World Eater logo, which is like, oh shoot, I'm not wearing it, but basically like it's a smiley face with like binoculars for the eyes. And then we put the Kalos crown over it because that's like his second staple piece for his logo. Okay. And then we did 2 shirts like that. We went out to LA, and honestly, we sold quite a bit of clothing out there. Like we did this no promo, like no nothing. We were just like, let's have a prop up in LA. Like keep in mind, like, you know how California is being here. Like California's huge. And like LA being a city, like how it is, like fast paced, have to know people type thing. Like it's not a place where normally you could just pull up and be like, hey, we're here, come shop with us type thing. So like it was really cool to actually like, we found the venue in the fashion district. It was like on the back half of the fashion district. So like it was getting pretty decent foot traffic. And yeah, we just popped up, pulled up. We had like 3 or 4 clothing stands in there, a couple tables, some live music and stuff like that. And like, dude, we got it like pretty popping, you know what I mean? And then like I said, for like 2 little brands to pull up to like a major city like that and actually like do something, it was definitely a fun experience, you know what I mean? And that was actually my last event until recently. I had an event last night, and then that actually was very, very fun. But it's like 2019 was more just like steady growth, you know what I mean? Just like consistency, like trying to like keep putting out like stuff that like people were interested in. And then 2020 was like, that was the year where things popped off like really, really big. I want to say what, so the first item that honestly got like a lot of attention from my brand, where like I was actually getting like publishing and stuff like from like vlogs and stuff like that, was the Bapestas. Did you ever see my Bapestas or no?
No, I haven't seen them.
Okay. So they were kind of like inspired. Like I've always liked very basic and like neutral colors for like shoes and stuff like that. But at the same time, like I like throwing bits of color into everything. You know what I mean? Like I like bright colors and stuff like that. So I was like, well, what if you were able to like mash together something that was like dull and basic? So like something that's like brown or like tan, you know what I mean? But like, let's say if I want to add like a spritz of color, like hot pink or like purple or something like that. Like if I was wearing a shirt that color, I could do that. So I was like, oh, like, you know, it's crazy. There's no Bapesta that's ever had a Velcro removable swoosh. Like Nike's done it and stuff before, like Asics has done it, but like Bape has never done it. And I was like, you know, that'd be a sick concept. I actually got lucky enough to find a great factory to work with and sampled a pair. And like, dude, overnight, like to this day, I still haven't gotten this many likes on an Instagram post. But overnight, these things freaking blew up. Like I saw like over 30 different pages posting them. There were like the like legit like vape collectors that were like calling me out. They're like, "Oh, these are fake, this and that." And I'm like, it was just an instant success. You know what I mean? Because it's like obviously you got to weigh the good with the bad. If there's all these good people talking about it, there's gonna be people talking shit about it. You know what I mean? It's like obviously you did something right if people are talking about it. So like it was definitely a sick experience to like create that much of a little ripple effect on the internet. Because at that time, before I had made these shoes, I was sitting at like like very roughly 1,000 followers, and it honestly could have been less. Like it might have been like 700 or 800. And then I dropped the shoes, like a picture of the shoe, like, and this is just a picture of the shoes, not even the shoes. I dropped a picture of the shoes, and it went up to like 1,500. And I was like, oh shit, like this is crazy. So I was like, maybe like a little soft release of these would go kind of crazy. And then so I did the little like promote them on Instagram and Twitter to see how people were liking them, and they were consistently doing numbers. So I was like, all right, maybe this is something like that's worth investing in, that's worth releasing, like to put like all my foot on the gas and just go with it. So then I got lucky enough to collab with my homie Icius Cruz. That he was actually my very first artist collab, actually probably back when I started. Cause like me and him like just randomly started talking. But long story short, I reached out to him and I was like, hey bro, like I have this project. I think it'd be really sick if you like drew the camera boy, which is like this logo. This is like the camera girl, but the camera boy, which is like the inverse version. I was like, it'd be super sick if you did that. And like we could put it on corresponding t-shirts to match like each color of the star. Cause there's pink, green, yellow, orange, and purple. Those are the five. I was like, it'd be super sick if we had a colorway that could go, or a shirt that could go with any colorway of the star. And he's like, oh, bro, that'd be super sick. And so he like whips it up in probably like 2 or 3 days, sends it to me, and dude, it was just perfect. Got the big old boxy camera head, plain white t-shirt with the freaking World Eater logo and baggy cargo pants. I was like, dude, perfect. It was literally perfect. And then went from actually conceptualizing the idea to putting it out into like reality, and like actually having 6 shirts to go with it with the 5 stars. And then just, as soon as I posted that Instagram photo that you had the options to get those things, dude, it just took off. Like it literally just took off. Like it went from, like I said, like 1,000 to 1,500 followers, 3,500 followers instantly, like instantly. And I was like, bro, like how? Like that's crazy that literally one item could ignite like such a spark. You know what I mean?
When you posted, sorry for interrupting you. When you
No.
posted the picture, when you did it, right? Like just say you came, you did it. Like, did you post it like the shirt design already made, or you just posted the kind of like the design of this what is coming?
So actually what I did is like I had everything already pre-made, at least like a sample for myself. And I had it all set out. So like I had like they were all set out in a circle. So I had like the orange shirt, yellow shirt, like all in a circle, and then like the shoes right in the middle. And then I just took a photo of it like that. So it was like you actually like were able to visually see what each product looked like before like you ordered it. You know what I mean? Because like I had always done like pre-orders and stuff like that beforehand, and like where you show like Photoshop concepts of like what you want to make. But I noticed like with this drop, if you actually show like the physical product of what you're trying to make, it seems to do a lot better, just because like it's showing that you're willing to invest in yourself in a sense. It's like, because anyone could go on the internet and make a freaking mock-up of something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and kind of like like as you were saying that, and early on, like in the beginning of the podcast, you mentioned something that I found it like to be like very important, when it comes, like to making something, something you're passionate about, like you have a knife for, like fashion, for shirts or, dressing style. and kind of like like in like skateboarding, how you actually came up to the culture and how you were able to kind of like grow your business in there. And kind of like at the beginning, like you say, you were not doing it for the money, you were doing it because you actually liked it and you wanted it to be something organic. And then you also mentioned something that I thought was very important, because you, in a way, you mentioned something about you know not being like another product, like something that like I want to sell and I want to push people to sell, like when your passion becomes a job, kind of like you said it, like your
Yeah,
passion sort of becomes a job, and now you gotta work on it. And now you're like, where is the passion and where is the reason why I began doing that? And kind of like that reminded me to a movie that I was watching last night, which is called The Network. And kind of like like it's a it's a kind of
it's
like
like
a
the fifth,
movie.
right?
Yeah, kind
It's,
of like that movie.
yeah.
And kind of like in the movie, like Mark Zuckerberg, he comes in to meet this guy, uh, who kind of like founded this music about this application about music for free music.
Okay.
And kind of like through that, um, as I'm thinking about that, like like he comes in and they're like, what's cool, you can put a price on it too soon, because it's not gonna, what's cool, let it be cool, and kind of like let it be there, and kind of like don't focus about the price right now. Focus about letting it be cool, and letting it kind of like in a way grow by itself. And then
Yeah,
later on you can focus on those things, because like you're focusing on like the audience first, and what are they actually looking for, like what are they liking. And then like in a way, if you start advertising it, like for example Facebook, right? When like in the movie, or if you start doing like many of those things, then in a way, like it doesn't, like it becomes sort of a business. And now it's, like it is a business, but now, like it is like what's there for the people, like what's the usability for everyone else, like what are the things they can get to that, you know, that, like can bring sort of a satisfaction to them.
actual consumer get out of it type thing. If that makes sense. Yeah, because like you brought up earlier, like with the whole like, and this like brings it back into like the skate aspect of things. But it's like with Instagram and like the way of a lot of things like are going right now, it seems like they do treat their customers as like just in a sense like money farms. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, what's the next product we can push out to these people to make them buy it? And then what's the next product? It's not actually like they're not trying to do, I guess, like anything in a sense. They're not like trying to push for a goal. Like I feel like a lot of these skate brands that like, or at least the OG ones, like they had a goal. Like they wanted to get a skate warehouse to where they could film like their parts and their stuff in, you know what I mean? Or they wanted somewhere for them to practice when it was hot or when it was rainy. But like I feel like nowadays with skateboarding becoming such like a trend and like a cultural like statement, I feel like it's also a very big culture vulture like I guess industry. It's like you can have anyone that has any sort of like name in a sense that all they have to do is say Travis Scott is releasing skateboards, and a million people are going to go try to buy those skateboards. It doesn't matter if they skate or not, you know what I mean? And it's like that's the type of stuff that in a sense like kind of like dilutes it and like gets rid of like the genuine like just awesomeness of the skateboard community. You know what I mean? It just makes it seem like tacky in a sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I hope you don't hear like, do you hear any background noise from
No,
my
yeah,
side? You
yeah,
you
you're
hear
good.
it? Okay. Um, so yeah, you and kind of like that makes sense. And you know, when you were first beginning to work on like your fashion and everything, you mentioned us about like getting like I know like your work kind of like sucks. And that can sometimes be, very detrimental if you feel attached to your work. If you're like, damn, like I really work hard for this piece, and someone comes and tell me like it kind of sucks, like you can take it, like the wrong way, and you can, like you're always gonna get mad because it's your work. And sometimes that sometimes can cause a lot of things, kind of like as you work on these things, because it can either make you want to go and be like, I'm gonna, like in your case, you went out there and you put those pieces that you were told, like, probably they're not, like they don't look, like good in a design right now, and you went out there and you didn't. And kind of like through that, like in life, I feel like we sometimes face failure. And kind of like through that, like what was a moment that you felt, like you were at the bottom of the bottom, and you were like, fuck, man, like this is hard. And you began to question your company. You were like, your fashion. You were like, like I truly don't know if my fashion is gonna make it. And then like when that happened, like when did it happen that you were like, but this is something that I'm passionate about. This is something that I actually like doing. And you
Uh,
realize that you wanted to take it, to the next level. You wanted to
keep
take it another step.
Honestly, I'm not gonna lie, that's happened to me like a few times in my career. And like I've only been doing this for 3 years, so I can assume it's only gonna keep happening. But I feel like that's like just like a common thing with a lot of artists in general is like you'll have like spurts where you're just like super creative and you're like, oh, this is it, this is it, this is it. And then you'll hit like a wall, right? And just all of a sudden, like you've been progressing, and all of a sudden you just hit this wall, and then just boom, nothing for like it could be anywhere from like a month. And like I would say that was like the first time where I was like, bro, this sucks. I was like, I'm not selling anything. I was like, people don't DMing me, people don't want like, does my shit just suck now? And then like so you grow past that wall, right? And then you keep growing, and then you hit another one, and you're like, well, shit, like what did I do again? Like, did I screw up again? Like I thought I just got things back on track. So like I feel like in like you said, like in life you're gonna have failures. Like and that's the beauty of life is you have to find what's next. Like what do I have to do to overcome adversity right here? Like what do I have to do to keep it pushing, keep it growing? Because honestly, I'd say the most recent rut that I was in, I was actually, dude, I stopped creating like for 3 months probably. And this was like within the last 6 months. For 3 months, I've just been in like, fuck, dude, this sucks. Cause like I created these Nike dunks 6 or 7 months ago, right? Like they sold well, it did everything. I'm still currently waiting for the product, which like makes me feel horrible because bro, I have customers that are overseas. I have customers that I know locally that are still waiting for this product, right? And like that kills me because I like getting my stuff out in a timely manner. I hate waiting for like I hate people waiting for stuff because I know I hate waiting for stuff. So like, dude, this whole ordeal has been draining me mentally and physically, right? We actually recently went out to Texas, okay? And like I linked up with some of my Texas homies and met up with a photographer out there. And after seeing like what they were doing in the city and like how live their city got, how creative their creatives were, it like rekindled my fire a little bit. Cause I was like, well, shit, like I do this. Like this is my career. I made the conscious decision that I want this to be my career. There's good parts of it and there's bad parts of it. You can't just be sad and basically sit on it while you like things are down. You know what I mean? You got to keep it pushing. Like, because if you sit down there while you're low, more shit's just gonna get tossed on top of you. You know what I mean? It's like you got to keep clawing yourself out of that hole. And like, yeah, shit may get tossed down on you while you're in that hole, but it's like as long as you continue to like try to find that way out, you'll find a way out. And like that's like the biggest thing is because like you may not get that instant gratification. Like, okay, I printed 40 t-shirts, okay, and it might suck because now you printed 40 t-shirts and you lost $300. But like once they start selling, it's like, oh shit, all right, I may have done work and been asked out of money for a little bit, but it's like now my profit's sitting at like what $700 or whatever you sell your t-shirts for. You know what I mean? So it's like you just have to always see the bigger picture and not get so dialed in on like where you're currently at. Because like like you said, things could be really shitty right now, but at the same time, they could always be worse. Like as cliche as that sounds, things could always be worse, but things could also be better. Like, and I feel like you just got to take it with a grain of salt and just keep it going. Everything that you're going through.
Yeah, the, that's true what you were saying, and that's something that I actually agree with you because it may come to a point where you feel like you're over investing and you're spending way too much. And sometimes, like you say, when you see the bigger picture, then you're able to see that, damn, like like actually, like I didn't see, like like you say, a couple of months ago, 2 months ago, like I was like low, and now that I see that they're actually selling, like now they're actually like booming. They're actually they you feel the work, the work that you have actually put into it has been worth it. And kind of like through that, what advice would you give someone trying to pursue a career similar to this, trying to get into fashion design and kind of like build a brand, kind of like build, like clothing, and bring in something that they feel they can do.
Honestly, and like if you ever wanted to like go about making clothes, like diving into this, the first thing I could tell people is like, don't get disheartened right away. Cause like it does take time to build a reputation. It takes time to like get the right resources and all that stuff. So like if you are starting off and you're not doing great right out the gate, so is everyone else. So don't get disheartened by that. And like the main thing is just like customers want to see consistency. So like, yeah, if you have one cool drop every 4 drops, it's not going to help you. You want to stay like, you'd rather take more time to create 4 fire perfect drops than let me hammer this four things out hella quick. You know what I mean? Because it's like when you do that, like unless you are doing it to a T, your customers are going to be like, oh fuck, like it looks like he's just trying to get cash from us right now. It looks like he's just hard up for cash, like he's just trying to hustle, try to get something out. You know what I mean? Like people want to see like a perfect product in a sense. So like don't ever rush yourself on your like deadlines and that type of stuff. And then also like this is like a very shitty piece of advice I was given when I first started off. So like I want people to advise against it. Don't think and don't assume that people can't help you, because no matter where you're at, like let's say you may have all your manufacturing dialed in, okay? Your screen printer could go out tomorrow. Like it could happen. It could happen to me. It could happen to you. It could happen to anyone, okay? You being too cool to talk to the guy that's like maybe he doesn't have as many followers or something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Because like there were a few big brands that I was asking for help when I was starting this off, right? And they would basically say, don't work with people. If they're not talking like money, essentially, don't talk to them. And it's like, those are horrible mentalities to have. No matter what someone's talking to you about, they always have some sort of valuable information, whether it's finances, whether it's resources, or shit, whether it's just a fucking face-to-face connection. You know what I mean? Like not everything has to have some sort of business interaction with it. And like I feel like I pushed away a lot of people at the beginning because that was the mindset that I had. And ultimately, like it's all a community. No one should be in competition with anyone. Like we're here to all see each other grow. And like, so if I'm growing, I want to see this person grow. You know what I mean? Because that means obviously the community itself is doing something positive. It's like if I'm just growing and then this person over here is looking at me like because I'm not supporting what they're doing, then obviously, yeah, there's not going to be any like community growth. So like you got to support your like support the homies, even if you like it's not your company. You got to show love, just like plain and simple.
Yeah, and kind of like through that, like when you were mentioning about, like, okay, like I'm coming out with this collection, and this is, like a collection of, shirts that, they have this type of story, this type of logo. Like, what's the story behind Neighborhood Watch? I felt like you mentioned it before, but what's the story behind? Like, what would you say in 3 words that is the story behind it?
like growing up in Clovis, it's like very diverse in terms of like socioeconomic status. Like you got really, really poor people and really wealthy people. And I wanted something that could mesh the two together to where like, because I feel like a lot of brands create a divide. You know what I mean? It's like if you're wearing Supreme, you're probably seen on like the higher spectrum of things. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of fucked up. Like if you make cool clothes, you make cool clothes. There shouldn't be like this is the rich people cool clothes. Like you know what I mean? So I was like neighborhood watch. Every neighborhood has a neighborhood watch, no matter where you live. You could live in some fucking rich gated ass neighborhood on the north side of fucking Clovis, or you could live in the freaking slums of like God knows where in Southside Fresno. Okay, but like no matter what, like there's a neighborhood watch and someone's always watching. Always, like there's always someone that's always watching. It doesn't matter where you're at. So I was just like, this applies to everything, everywhere.
Yeah, and I really like the name, and I really like like how it connects to the brand and to the story that you have behind it. And kind of like through that, another question that I had, is that in music, when an artist comes with an album of songs, they kind of like kind of like you mentioned it, they prepare like all the songs they're gonna come up with. Like, okay, I like this song, I like this song, I like that one, and in a way they connect together, right? To kind of like create the album, whatever the album title is. And like I really like your idea and view of how you put it into words that okay, like when you come in and you kind of like are coming with this collection, you're like okay, I have 4 collections that are coming up, and kind of like you say, you don't just want one of the 4 collections to be a hit or to be booming. You want the 4 of them to be booming. And kind of like in your side, like how do you prepare, for your shirts to kind of like when they come, like the collection is coming. How do
Um,
you kind of like prepare for that collection and be like, okay, this is a badass collection that I see, and then you have another collection like this one is too, and then you're like this one is too, and kind of like when it comes to actually like releasing them, how is the process like you kind of like working there?
um, so like that's actually one thing that I've been trying to work on a lot is because I feel like my product rollout isn't the most consistent. The reason I gave that example is because I feel like I'm a prime bad example for that example is like I will have like 4 good drops, but I'll try to rush things. And like that's something I'm actually currently trying to work on is because like marketing is a very big thing, especially like that's basically what everything is in this industry. You know what I mean? So if you're not marketing your products effectively, it doesn't even matter if it's cool. You can make the coolest thing in the world. And if it's not marketed efficiently or even like somewhat well, it won't sell. So I've been trying to like slow myself down and like do more lookbooks, like because people want to see it on, you know what I mean? They want to see it on a person. They want to see, oh, like what's it gonna look like on me? What's it gonna look like if I'm getting it for someone, you know what I mean? What's it gonna look like on them? So like product lookbooks are like a big thing that I'm trying to actually work on right now currently. And I feel like that actually helps a lot with generating like more sales and stuff like that. Because like I said, like people want to see what they're buying, people want to see what they're wearing. And if you show them, you're essentially saying like, this is what it is, this is cool. Basically what you're doing as a fashion brand is you're telling people what is cool and what's not. And like obviously like the success level of your brand is going to depend on if your stuff is whether like truly cool or not. But like that is the main job point of what we do is like you're supposed to essentially make what you make look cool to the consumer. And if you're not doing that effectively, obviously sales are going to be a direct result of that. Photo lookbooks, I would say like are a very, very, very big influencing part.
You mentioned something that I think was like but very valuable, for anyone that wants to start like a business, just like you want to get into like creating something that they feel they want to create. And kind of like you say, photo books, like taking pictures of the person and how the shirt kind of looks on them, and like thinking about like for who is it going to be? Is it going to be a gift? Is it going to be this? Like kind of like the reason, kind of like I think clears, like a better vision for what you're creating, because then when it comes, to picking the shirts, then you kind of have an idea of, okay, what are you looking for? And then when you
Yeah.
have a what are you looking for, then you have, like your customers, they you're able to create a culture where, like the customer, the person that supports you, that wants a shirt, they come in and, like kind of like what they are wearing is probably something, that is changing the style in the like in that specific place. And kind of like through that it can sort of change, and then you have a new culture coming in, and kind of like, like if we really look into times nowadays, everything is just so fast paced, like if you're looking, like in what's going on in social media, like, artists that are coming out, like, any time of the day there is gonna be a new artist is gonna be, it's gonna be booming, it's gonna be, changing the style of something. And kind of like through that, knowing that you have those things in mind, then you're able to see that, wait, like it's actually good, because you get to see that, and you get to see the change that you actually, like bringing through your vision and through your style.
Yeah, like it's really interesting because like growing up, like I've always like kind of seen myself as like not popular or not like I don't know, people don't look up to me in a sense, you know what I mean? And like getting the platform that I have now, and like I'm not saying I have a big platform at all or anything like that. I'm nowhere near special, but it's fire to have people tell me that they are inspired by some of the ideas I have, right? I'm like, because I'm like, I downplay a lot of the things I do. I'm kind of just like, oh yeah, it's all right, you know what I mean? So like for people to actually like come out to me and say like, oh bro, you're the reason I did this. I'm like, me? Like me? I'm the reason you did that? Like, bro, what? Thanks. Like that almost means more sometimes like than people like sharing and stuff like that. Cause I'm like, bro, how did I influence your art? That's crazy. Like I don't know. It's like super, super humbling and like it's an awesome ass feeling.
Yeah, and kind of like through that, like who are three people that have been the most influential to you, like in your life, like
Like art wise or just influential in general?
influential in general, and artworks if you want to share it too.
Obviously my parents, just because like they're my parents. Like they're honestly the reason I do work so hard is because like they grew up poor and stuff like that. So like with them telling me their stories of like their childhood and stuff like that, it's kind of always just like motivated me. Like I don't want that for me or my kids. Like they've done a great job at raising us. So like I just kind of want to keep that going. But like as for like actual influencers and stuff like in fashion, like I would say Kanye West, like before he was all like Kim K'd out, like before all this Yeezy shit. But like Kanye West was like a pretty big influence just because like I feel like he was pretty like different for his time. Like I feel like he had a wide like just like he did a lot. And like I feel like he was one of the first people that did a lot and like was successful with it. Like obviously like you got Diddy, big like and like fucking Jay-Z and like shit like that. They were like doing stuff too, but it's like he was like the main artist that I personally like liked and then saw him doing a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh shit, that's sick. And then same thing with like Chief Keef, because like Chief Keef, like he's my all-time favorite rapper. Like I can go on all day about him, but like, bro, he's done like merch. So like obviously that's basic. He's an artist or like a musician, okay? But he has his own fucking paintball team. He's got his own game team. Like, dude, this man's just like out here doing everything. It's crazy. So I was like, dude, if like that's extremely influential. Like seeing someone that comes up in one business and then just broadens themselves out into like everything. You know what I mean? It's like a tree. It's like you got your main trunk, and then all of a sudden you just branch out into all these other different avenues. It's just like super cool.
Yeah, and that thing that you mentioned right now, a big tree and now these branches. Uh, last time I recorded a podcast, and kind of like in the podcast we talk about, you know, with a friend, uh, with her we talk about, like how, like everything should be connected. From the way how, you like doing this. How can you connect this to, like in her case, she like dancing, and
Okay.
how to connect dancing to fashion, because she liked fashion too. She loved like creating stuff like sewing clothes, and kind of like creating like something of her own. Kind of like through that we talk about, like how you can connect everything, and just like the podcast, like uh kind of like right now, like I even told her, like my goal for my podcast is to kind of like have a little band, and in that little band go to every city and interview as many people as I can, and like get as many stories as I can in that freaking little band. And then in that little band have my art shows, because I paint. And kind of like through that, like you said it, you come to the conclusion that, like you start with this little thing, and then boom, this little thing starts, like building into other things. And you know when you don't even realize you have this big with so many, like artistic force that, like kind of like shape you.
Yeah, no, like it's crazy to like see all like the like resources and stuff that like develop while you're on your path to actually like doing your dream. You know what I mean? 'Cause it's like, yeah, like you're obviously like going to reach your goal. That's what you're going for, like striving for every day. And then like you look back at it and all the stuff that you've accomplished and like all the stuff that you've actually like networked out and like now that you can do and stuff like that. It's definitely like a really like satisfying feeling for sure.
In the fashion industry, kind of like, like in the fashion industry, what do you think is a myth that kind of like is there that you don't think is true?
Truthfully, that like one myth that I would say that's like pretty false is that you need a lot of money. You don't. You don't. Like if you're creative enough and you have enough like fire and passion for something, you'll make it happen. And like that's not like that doesn't go just for clothing, like that goes for like anything, you know what I mean? Like if you genuinely want to make something happen, you can make it happen. And like the reason I'm saying that is because like back in the day from like wrestling, that was one of the main things that like I was able to learn. Like did you wrestle or no?
Yeah, I wrestle.
Okay, yeah. So like, bro, being
Mhm.
on top and bottom, bro, if you're on bottom, there's 10 seconds left. Like 9 times out of 10, you'll find a way to get out. You know what I mean? But like if it's first or second round and you're on bottom, you're probably not gonna get out. You're probably just gonna chill there, like wait it out. You know what I mean? Or at least that's the way I wrestled. I wrestled hella lazy. Basically, like what I'm saying is like if you want to get something done, you'll find a way to make it get done. And then like you don't need all the financial resources to get all these cut and sew factories and shit like that because you can make a rough sample. You know what I mean? You could always make a rough sample of something, and yeah, it may not be something that you could like wear day to day, but like you can make that sample, and then you could send that to a factory. Now they don't have to charge you a sampling fee. You know what I mean? Then they could just straight make your product, which is going to cost you a hell of a lot less than you actually sampling to like dial in little things. You know what I mean? So like, yeah, I feel like a big myth in the like the fashion industry is that you actually need money to get things started, and that's definitely not true. If you have organic ideas, you can definitely make it happen with very minimal.
Yeah, and you mentioned the sampling, right? You mentioned the sampling. How does the sampling kind of like works for you? Like, what is the process behind it? If you can tell us a little bit behind it.
That's gonna honestly vary by object. Like if it's t-shirts and stuff like that, like I have my own screen printing press in the garage. So like if it's a shirt and I'm like, oh, this shirt's kind of sick. Like let me see what these two colors are gonna look like on it. So I'll do that real quick. But like for stuff like this, I want to start doing stuff like this more screen print because this is actually direct to garment printed. And so what that is basically like a super big printer that just prints directly onto the clothes. But like so like with this, I'll sample like just one or two to see like how durable it is and stuff like that. Cause like if it's not, you don't want to invest and buy like 30 shirts if that shit's gonna just fucking wash off after two washes, you know what I mean? So I always like try to just like piece it out. But like with like bigger pieces and stuff like that, like pants and stuff like that, I always try to like cut and sew my own samples just because I don't want my clothes to fit like everyone else's, you know what I mean? Because you can always find a template online for like, oh, let's say I want Dickies pants, or let's say I want Levi's pants, right? I could get that template, send it over to a factory, they'll fit exactly the same. But it's like, at the same time, you're trying to be original in this industry. So it's like, I don't want to just take their template and use it, because in a sense, it ruins the whole point. You know what I mean? It's not creative anymore.
Yeah, I see that. I see what you're saying, and I see where does the originality, where does, being original with your artwork kind of like comes, and kind of like creating something that, like that in a way kind of like changes, things around it, like you say, like many people probably right now that are listening to this podcast, they want to be, like a fashion designer like you. And sometimes like, like very often like, you don't have the money. You're like, damn, like, I don't have the money to go buy these pants that, I really want. And then you have to go to another store and kind of like get it. And then kind of like in a way, you realize that probably those pants that you're buying at this store that are more affordable to what you are trying to create, in a way, now they kind of have shape and identity in the brand that you're creating. And then, you're allowed to be more creative, because now you got to look at things. So it'll be like, I have these pants, I have that shirt, I have those shoes. How are the pants going to connect with the shoes? And how are the shoes going to connect with the shirt? And then how everything is going to complement each other.
Yeah, like oh, so like on that, I feel like that ties back to like how I was like, ever since I was young, like my mom like hella got me into clothes. Like I would set my outfits out and shit like that before like I went to school, right? So like I feel like just back then, like it's kind of like instilled like just like a vision of like what's gonna look good with what, you know what I mean? Because like every time, like, so when I like drop clothes, I don't see it as like I'm dropping just a t-shirt. Like I always try to do like full outfit, okay? Because I'm like, I feel like it's really hard to just say like this t-shirt's gonna look good with everything, you know what I mean? So that's why like I try to do like a shirt and a shorts. So it's like, well, at least you'll have an outfit if you don't have something else in your wardrobe that like can match that shirt, you know what I mean? And then like with shoes, like I try to apply that, obviously, like because that's different. Shoes, you have to be like a little bit more subtle, because like shoes are their own like they're in a sense like tires, you know what I mean, for like people. So it's like you don't want it to like stand out too much, but you want it to look different a little bit. Like I don't know, it's hard to explain.
I see what you're saying. Shoes, and kind of like in shoes, that's the topic that I really wanted to tap into, because like I have seen your shoes designs, and to be honest, like they are really cool. Like I really like the colors, and like you just mentioned right now, like you don't
Thank
want
you.
them to stand out too much, but you don't want them to stand out. You want them to be enough to complement the whole outfit, right? And
Yeah, exactly.
how does the shoe customization come to you? Like, how does that work?
So like for me, shoes have always been like a way of expressing yourself, and like kind of like you said, like it amplifies your outfit a little bit more, right? So like let's say if I'm wearing a yellow shirt, okay, like full yellow shirt, black pants. If I'm wearing some white shoes, or white shoes wouldn't look good. But like if I'm wearing some like black or gray shoes, right, with like a slight like hint of yellow, like a yellow line, or like let's say they're like Adidas shoes and like the three stripes on it are like yellow, right, and the whole shoe's gray. Dude, that's gonna look crazy, right? Like it'll pop way more. So like I don't know. I feel like you have to like pick colors that aren't like utilized too much, but and then like just like subtly add them in there, because like there's shoes that have like Undefeated's really good at this. Like they'll add like orange or like green, and like their green is not like a it's not like a this green. It's like a fucking olive. It's like kind of gross looking green, but they make it look sick as fuck every time, dude. So it's just like the subtle placement. You have to like subtly place it, because if you overdo it, you can make a shoe look horrible real quick. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna do like colors and stuff like that, you gotta like subtly place them, because like obviously shoes are meant to be more neutral, unless they're like event shoes or something like meant to like step out. You know what I mean? So like you don't want to overdo it with the bright contrasting colors and stuff like that.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing, and like you're able to see that, and that's like something really cool. You have an eye for it, you have a vision for like how does everything kind of works, and that's just like making a painting, making whatever it is that you do, or making music or whatever. And kind of like through that, like I have one more question. Uh, and kind of like through that, if you were in my shoes right now, right, and you were the host of the show, what would be a question that you would have asked that I haven't asked yet?
I guess the only question I would ask that you haven't asked me is like why I'm doing what I'm doing, like why I'm making Neighborhood Watch. And then to answer that, it would be the overall end goal of all of this is hopefully to create the first public indoor skate park in the Central Valley, because there's a lot of indoor skate facilities and bike facilities and stuff like that, but you obviously have to know someone or like that type of thing, you know what I mean? And just like where we live, because did you grow up in the Central Valley or no?
I grew up in El Salvador, like in Central
Oh,
America. Yeah,
damn, you're not even
yeah.
from America? Oh,
No,
my boy's, that's tight.
yeah.
All right, so like over here in like California where we live in Fresno, like and stuff like that, it's either like there's only two weathers. It's either hot as hell or cold as shit. Like that's it. That's all you get. So and like during winter, we don't get much rain, but like it's cold outside to where you don't want to be outside because we'll get like icy wind type thing. And it's like it's not even icy, so it's like it's weird. But so I want to create an indoor skate facility to where obviously like bike scooters, everyone will be allowed. I don't care about that shit. I'm not an asshole. But at the same time, I wanted to have like a storefront in it too. So like you'd have like the little like storefront, like maybe like I'm trying to think, like max 800 square feet for the storefront, and then in the back it would be like a big warehouse where you like pay like $1 or $2, you know what I mean? And then there's movable skate features because I want everything in the facility to like be able to be because like I don't want everything to be stationary. I want you to be like 1 week this half pipe's going to be over here, the next week okay it's going to be on the other side of the park type thing, just so then everything's a lot more interactive. It keeps things fresh. It's going to want people to keep coming back, and then it just helps build that skate community because like here in Fresno, like we have a very big skate community, I would say, but I feel like just based off of where things are at and how like things are spaced out, it's not as close knit as it could be. And so like if these people had like an indoor facility to constantly be hanging out at and stuff like that, instead of like being spread out around like there's like 7 or 8 parks around here, it would definitely help push some of these local skaters that are good enough to get to the next level because I'm not that good at skating, but I know people that are good enough at skating to where they could be pro, and they're not because they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the time, like just little things, you know what I mean? I want to be basically a stepping stone to get people where they want to go with professional skating and stuff like that, because I personally think it's sick as shit. I can't do a lot of those things. And like, if you're able to do heavy shit on a skateboard and send yourself down 18 sets, like, and shit like that, I definitely want to help people get where they deserve to be. You know what I mean?
One of the things that is bringing those resources, and kind of like for me, my side, like I can see how that's going to evolve, and how like what you said when you mentioned JC, when you mentioned Kanye West, when you mentioned them, uh, you talk about like that tree growing, and kind of like for you, neighborhood watch being the roots of the tree kind of like growing. and kind of like taking, like all of these places and building something for the community in the Central Valley in Fresno, and kind of like, like allowing, like young kids, young adults who are, like talented in whatever they're doing to kind of like go out there and kind of like showcase their skills and showcase, that, like there is an opportunity, behind, like all of these, little towns that exist, throughout the country.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because it's like the way things are now, I feel like, especially with social media, it's so much easier to actually put the right content to the right people's hands. You know what I mean? So if people have the place to film the content, or like the places to train to get that content, I feel like it would just be really nice to help people. I don't know, because I've always like had a knack for helping people. It'd be sick to like, it's cool to see people grow. You know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, I know that guy. He's out here doing this now. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a cool feeling.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a really cool feeling, like it has been a pleasure to have in the show for you to kind of like share the story, your story and
Bro,
everything. And where can our listeners find you?
At Neighborhood Watch on Instagram, NBR Hood Watch. And then, yeah, that's probably the best bet.
Knowing that you're a skater, you're an artist, you do like fashion, like you design your stuff, and now, like take bringing you to the podcast and, like understanding, what Neighborhood Watch is and what you're actually making with it. And as an artist yourself, the question is, what does art means to you?
I'm gonna say art's like a direct reflection of yourself, and like that's not gonna say like entirely who you are, but like it could be like how you're feeling at that current time, or like say you want to get out certain emotions or something like that. I feel like art helps you express that in a sense, just because I feel like it's not limited to just one thing. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people limit art to like something on a canvas or something that you're going to hang up on your wall. You know what I mean? But like you've said, like art can be anywhere from music, it could be from clothing, it could be like there's a lot of things that art could pertain to. So I think art in itself is literally just a way of expressing yourself, and it isn't actually confined to like any sort of boxes in a sense.
And yeah, I mean, like I said before, it's nice to have in the show and for you to kind of like be part of it and be part of
Of
the
course.
Vito stories. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
this is the conclusion of the Vito stories, and it has been a pleasure to have you in.
oh yeah, bro, of course. I'd definitely love to do it again.